Just in time for the seasonal airing of the boxing anime Megalo Box, Discotek Media has released a movie version of Tomorrow's Joe on a Blu-ray DVD combo pack. If you didn't know, Megalo Box is celebrating the 50th anniversary of this boxing series, Ashita No Joe, and its many following names. Megalo Box is reinventing the story in its own image, but this is where it all started. Over the years, it's been a mysterious struggle why this series took so long to get an official release in America, as this boxer is a very iconic character in Japan, and especially in Italy, the land where old school anime is appreciated. The timing of this sports movie being released is perfect for the 50th anniversary and the streaming of Megalo Box, but what's imperfect is this movie. I don't like speaking negative on something that I really like. Since Joe has finally arrived in the West, I should be grateful. But this movie is not meant to be seen on its own. The conclusion is a berserk-level cliffhanger. It even ends on a screaming face. If you've never seen this series before, when the movie stops, you will get angry. But as a fan of the anime, I can understand why this happened, but this movie probably isn't the best choice for a new audience. And I'll explain why. This is a compilation film using footage from the 1970 anime. In other words, it's the same style as the Death Note Relay movies, just with an older series. So a better example would be the 1978 Gatchaman movie, which was also a compilation feature. Instead of completely redrawing scenes like these films, Tomorrow's Joe is forced to edit the length of existing footage. Admittedly, seeing this 1970 anime in high definition is a real treat. The original anime footage was 4:3, but it's cropped in 16:9. But the visual quality is so good you could dismiss it as a whatever, I'll be fine. This movie was released in 1980, just before the premiere of the TV anime Ashita No Joe 2. Tomorrow's Joe the movie serves as an easy digest version of 51 episodes to get people ready to watch the second series. Just like most battle shonen, the Ashita No Joe manga wasn't finished. So the 1970 anime adaptation stopped with its own made-up ending, leading to a 9-year hiatus before the anime resumed in 1980, and completely finished the manga. Currently, this movie, the Part 2 TV anime, and Megalo Box are the only licensed material of this franchise. As a fan of this series, I obviously had to buy this film in hopes of Discotek acquiring the rights to distribute the Part 1 or Part 2 TV series. Subjectively as a fan, I think this compilation film comes off as a bit rushed, as multiple events from 51 episodes are condensed into mere minutes. Objectively, from a first viewer perspective, the movie could proceed smoothly, except for the abrupt ending. But enough of this banter. What's the story even about? Yabuki Joe is a vagabond orphan who comes across a former boxer, Tange Danpei. Danpei sees Joe fight and wants to make him into a boxer. Joe is an asshole who does the crime and the time by being sent to a juvenile detention center, which looks more like a prison. Joe gets whooped by Rikishi, who was a boxer. Joe, learning about Rikishi's career, finally gives in to Danpei and asks to be properly trained so he can beat Rikishi in a formal boxing match. And that's pretty much the whole movie. Normally I wouldn't be so quick describing the main plot of the story, but there's so much cut content that my description comes off as one of those movie-in-minute videos. The film places a greater focus on the boxing rivalry of Joe and Rikishi, but as I said earlier, we're squeezing 51 episodes into the span of 2 hours and 30 minutes. Personally, I still recommend watching the TV anime due to the missing material and unexplored characters. You really don't learn how Danpei feels about Joe, or how their connection grew over time. The original story moves at a leisurely pace with its own brand of atmosphere. The compilation changes the OST with completely new tracks for the theatrical experience, so you don't get to hear familiar songs such as Rikishi's theme, or Joe's whistle, or the constant usage of the harmonica for those solemn moments. Even some of the most iconic visuals of the anime are gone. I'm sounding very biased and I hate myself because I don't want to give such a negative reception to this sports masterpiece, but I gotta be honest. Even with nearly being 3 hours long, the movie is too short to cover the entire story. Yeah, the span of 2 hours and 30 minutes is not enough time to fully expose the story. Sure, we got the main points of Joe and Rikishi, but not their interactions with other characters. The purpose of Joe is to witness the most diabolical scum of the earth become rehabilitated as a proud boxer. This is best displayed with the very first image of the openings. A good chunk of the beginning is about character, but the movie is clearly putting a greater emphasis on the sport. I feel the only person that stays intact even with this edited runtime is Rikishi, as the story starts to move with his appearance and the last hour of the movie is from his perspective. So in my point of view, as someone who's already seen the entire 79 episode anime, this compilation comes off as a little too compact. I feel this movie would have benefited if it was completely rewritten and redrawn with new scenes. But looking back, that seemed unlikely, given the original studio, Mushi Productions from Osamu Tezuka, was already suffering from financial troubles, and TMS had their hands full focusing on the production of Part 2 and several other anime. Having to edit these 51 episodes would make certain choices appear odd. The easiest example is the character Nishi, who wasn't really needed in the film version. His inclusion comes off as superfluous since the movie didn't have time to feature his important scenes, such as the time he screwed up his training regimen as Nishi was sneaking out to eat meals when he was supposed to lose weight. This created a distrust of friendship between Joe and Nishi, eventually hinting at Mammoth Nishi's retirement. The strangest thing left in the movie was this one scene which has Joe at the beach. In the film, it's used to show Joe's frustration that he's stuck in juvie and can't leave till his sentence ends. But this clip is from an episode where Joe breaks out of juvie. Episode 10 is such a good piece of inner conflict despite being filler. In the movie, you don't really get to witness Joe as a very awful human being. Most of the scenes that contain these unlikable traits aren't here. By watching the anime, you can witness Joe's debut as the foul criminal learning to become interested in sports and accepting a parental figure being his coach. This episode is the start of that change. Joe could have escaped and wandered off, but being so motivated to fight Rikishi and knowing he can't win without proper training, he gives in to Danpei and learns to behave. Sure, Joe still has a lot to learn with his people skills and anger management, but the movie just doesn't feature all of the things that happens outside of the ring. There's a bunch of little iconic moments that aren't in this film. While they seem minor at first, those few selections are what made Tomorrow's Joe a unique story and changed Joe Yabuki into a better human being. You don't get the sense of progress or the flow of time with this film adaptation, hence why it's not meant to be seen on its own. The whole reason this movie was made was to get new audiences ready to watch the premiere of the second anime series, and by that point of the story, Joe is going through depression over something he regrets, and starts to change even more into a different man than the rebellious boy he was at the start. Because of that growth, Joe doesn't do evil deeds, which is why I assume those scenes were removed to better match the Part 2 version of the character, but it also removes his life lessons, making a simplified story of a person going to juvie, gets beat up and trains to fight the rival. At the very least, what makes this movie different from any boxing series is the ending. But as I said before, if you know nothing of the story, stopping the film right here is the worst thing for a new viewer. What happens next? Theoretically, after completing this film, you could jump to Champion Cho 2 on Crunchyroll and complete the series that way, but I think you'd be doing a disservice for skipping the first anime. There is one redeemable factor to this movie. It has a rare English dub. There's been a few attempts of dubbing the show. One of the rarest example is the incomplete Rocky Joe by Television Almi Productions.
Joe, that's my name.
Joe! Wow!
I finally found you, Joe. The guy I've been looking for all these years. I'm here to change you from a wild animal to the greatest boxer in the world.
Fast forward to 2008, and we have this movie originally released by Tai Seng Entertainment. I don't know why or how Tai Seng got the idea to release this anime since I can't find anything informative about them, but hey, at least they brought it over to America and actually dubbed it. The English dub is mostly good. There's a few stale line deliveries and no one can pronounce Rikishi's name correctly, but as a whole, it works well enough to sit through. I thought Rikishi's voice was appropriate, Danpei was good, and Joe took me some time to get into him, but the actor does slip into the role. And thankfully, 10 years later from this old release, we would get the 2018 Discotek edition, which looks and sounds better. There's more info about the original release in some blogs and articles that I'll link in the description. If you want to purchase this movie, go right ahead. Again, its purpose is to get you ready to watch part 2. Personally, I recommend watching the anime series instead. As of this edit date, part 1 hasn't been available in legal ways, so you would have to look at websites to view the original anime. I hope that changes for an official method in the future. If Discotek released part 1 for sale, yeah, I'm buying it, and if this movie is the first step for fans to finally get their hands on the original, then by all means, show support by purchasing this and letting Discotek know we want part 1 and part 2. I already bought all of this other stuff, and I'll continue sustaining the anime industry. To end this video, I'll be displaying clips of the English dub as a way to promote the movie in hopes of you showing support. I'm the Anime Hero, and I review anime so you can enjoy it.
You gave us all a good laugh with your pathetic attempt to escape. What's with the tears? You a crybaby or something?
This is not enough to tilt the scale to my advantage. You have to help me, Tange. Help find out what I lack.
Train hard, Joe. Your tomorrow will come sooner or later. Follow your lessons well. You can do it.